All right, we back. This is a video on how to stop speedrunning life. And I don't know. I think that this is something that I wanted to talk about. You know, it's not something that a lot of creators are going to talk about. And that's kind of what I want this channel to be. I don't want to regurgitate the same, top 10 tips for your 20s that, every single content creator decides to do. I don't really want to do that. I'll do that here and there, obviously, just to get some like views and clicks and subscribers. But I do want this channel to be something that I enjoy talking about, something that I learn in my day-to-day life, and that hopefully, maybe you don't really think about it, or maybe it's something that you never really thought about, and maybe it's something you do think about, but you just needed someone to like kind of vocalize it, right? And if it's over some Call of Duty gameplay, then, what's the harm in that? So let's get into it. What do I mean by speedrunning life? What does speedrunning life even mean? Well, if you've played any kinds of like RPGs, any kind of like role-playing games or MMOs, or anything like that, you guys know that there is a feature generally where you can kind of take a shortcut in games. And that's mainly what I'm saying in a translation, in a metaphor essentially towards life. So, let's just say Call of Duty is the only game you really play. As you guys know, there's gold camo, there's diamond camo. Nowadays, there's dark matter camo. And, these are kind of like accomplishments, right? As far as like leveling up goes as well. But let's talk about like skill-wise / accomplishment-wise. These are the things that you have to go for. Certain milestones, certain accomplishments, like, for instance, a number of headshots, a certain number of XYZ will get you, a camo or closer to a camo. And so my, analogy here would be, imagine if you could just take a shortcut and skip through 90% of, the grind of the camo. And then, instead of like, let's say it takes like a month to get the camo, let's say it only takes you 3 days. For the first couple of days, you're going to be like, wow, awesome. Like I can save so much time. In a little bit, in a very, very short little bit, you're going to quickly realize, wow, there's nothing to really do in this game. There's really nothing to go for. There's nothing to, continuously grind for. I guess I have to go for level 1000. I guess I have to go for the zombies camo now. And then you're going to start making these like other goals, these other milestones that you didn't really care about. When you first set out for this mission of dark matter camo, you were only planning on playing multiplayer. Now all of a sudden you're randomly playing zombies. You're randomly, playing, I don't know, face off or domination because you want to level up a new gun that, you don't really care about. That's what I'm talking about. When you speed run through this game, or when you speed run through life, essentially, you end up doing things that you don't necessarily care about. And I'm mainly thinking about people who like retire when they're like 25, when they're 30. My first thought is, yeah, that's nice, but what are you going to do? What are you really going to do with the rest of your life while all your friends are working, while your parents are working, like et cetera, et cetera? Who's free? You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you could probably have like a few unemployed friends, but I don't know. You can only go to the gym for so long. You can only work on your business. You can only work on YouTube videos and et cetera, et cetera. You can only do certain things for so long. My main takeaway here from this video, and this is something that I've been thinking about, is to like stop and enjoy each day and each moment. I'm not saying sit around and do nothing, every single day of your life and just appreciate what you have. Like, yeah, that's nice. But I'm not saying don't have goals or don't pursue hobbies. But I guess what I'm saying is there's always something new. And let's move the translation and the analogy over to life now, right? Most single guys care about the same things, right? They care about money. They care about their job. They care about women and getting a girlfriend. They care about their future house and then probably their future kids. And then, maybe like taking care of their parents, et cetera, et cetera. But those are the main things, right? And there's kind of a trajectory too, right? Like for instance, you take care of your college or whatever, and then you're good. Now you focus on a job. Okay, I got a job. Now I focus on getting a girlfriend. Okay, I got a girlfriend. Now I focus on marriage. Okay, now I'm married. Now I want a kid. Okay, now I'm married. Okay, now I have a kid. Okay, now I've got to get a house. Now I got to get a bigger house. Now I got to get a bigger car, and et cetera, right? There's always a new goal. There's always a new milestone that you like, quote unquote, have to go for. And the people who tell you have to go for it, like, do you really care about what they have to say? I don't know. I feel like society forces like so much pressure these days on like, oh, if you're not driving a Tesla by like 20 years old, you're behind and things like that. And I don't know. I can't get on board with things like that. I can't get on board. Like, oh, if you're not a millionaire by 30, you're behind. I know not everybody says that. I know not everybody thinks that, but sometimes social media, sometimes, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, like these influencers and these voices like constantly going on in your head, they will make you think that you're behind. They'll make you think that, there's something wrong with you, and they're going to shame you. I don't know. The worst influencers and the worst voices that I hear on the internet literally shame you for like, oh, you're taking the day off of the gym. Wow, I guess you just don't want it. Like, no, bro, maybe I just had like a long day. Maybe I didn't work from home like you did. Maybe I didn't get the best night of sleep. Like, you can't blanket statement judge like some of these influencers and some of these people do. And I can't get on board with it. We'll never bash somebody for that. Now, if my friend is like, hey, I'm trying to lose 15 pounds, and then the next 3 weeks I see him, he's eating Taco Bell more than he's like brushing his teeth or something like that. Like, yeah, okay, there's a problem here. You got to make some active changes, and I will, call him out for that. But I think when it comes to comparison, understand that sometimes you're looking at somebody's finished book, or you're looking at the end of their chapters when you might be on chapter 1 or chapter 2. You might be in a completely different state. It doesn't matter your age. It doesn't matter, where you are physically or spiritually or mentally. Like, you might just completely be at a different place than somebody, and that's okay. It's really okay. Again, everybody is chasing different things. Some 30-year-olds are chasing women. Some 30-year-olds are chasing men. Some 30-year-olds are chasing, I don't know, like all they care about is Call of Duty and sports. Some people only care about, their parents and pleasing them and not trying to grow up, not trying to, everybody has a different milestone. Everybody has a different mentality when they're 20, when they're 30. And I just can't get on board with blanket statements like, hey, at 30, own a house. At 40, be a millionaire, whatever, right? I can't get on board with blanket statements like that. And the thing is, there's always going to be a new milestone. And so, this is kind of what I want to say. Like, assume you're like 25 and you're quote unquote on par with what all these like influencers and geniuses and gurus are telling you, like, oh yeah, at 25, you're ahead if you have a kid, if you're ahead if you're a millionaire. And let's say you are. You have like sped run life and you're not, I guess, relatable anymore. And that's not like a bad thing. Okay. I'm not saying that if you have a kid, if you have a family, if everything all lined up for you in a bow when you're like 25, 26, that, you're a problem or something like that. Like, no, but I think there's a lot of shame when that's mentioned, and most people are not that. Most people are not 25 and rich, 25 and married, 25 and I don't know, have multiple sources of income or whatever. Like, I don't think most people have that. And so I again, can't get on board with that. What I can get on board with is people prioritizing experiences over milestones. Again, money, raises, girls, house, kids, et cetera, et cetera. The list goes on and on. New car, new house, whatever. There's tons of them. There's going to be a new milestone every time you blink, every time you look up, every time you scroll on social media, there's going to be a new milestone. You're going to be told you're behind. Just scrap all that. Again, I highly recommend just deleting Instagram, deleting TikTok. Like, you don't need these other voices. Certain things like YouTube or Reddit, like, where you can like kind of learn from people's experiences, like that's kind of fine. But Instagram, it's people's highlights reels, right? And TikTok, like, most people are there to make money. They're not really there to like help you. They're not really here to inform you. I don't know. That's just how I take it. You can disagree with me in the comments. Again, I would really say and encourage you to prioritize experiences over milestone. What does that mean? It means focusing on travel, hobbies, the day-to-day joys. Sure, maybe you don't like your job, maybe you don't like this or that, but enjoy it for what it is. Enjoy the grind for what it is. Going back to like a game like Pokemon, for instance, right? Yeah, training your Pokemon when they're level like 15 and they don't know any moves, it probably isn't the most fun thing in the world, right? Especially when you can't battle people, you can't trade people. But that grind, that attachment that you end up growing with your Pokemon or with, whatever game you're playing, and, that time you spent and that time you soak in, those are your experiences, right? And I'd much rather have that and value that over, beating the Elite Four, beating Dark Matter camo, but like getting whatever you want finished in your video game of choice or in your life of choice, right? I'd much rather prioritize the experience, the journey along the way. yeah, in real life, focus on your hobbies, focus on the day to day. Like, yeah, I got a free, I don't know, piece of gum from my coworker today. And like, yeah, now my coworker and I might be a little closer, right? Like little, super tiny, minute things like that. I would say focus on that. Don't just disturb that. Like, yeah, that's probably not going to, be a headline on Instagram. That's not going to be breaking news on, CNBC or something like that. It doesn't matter, right? Like these are things that are valuable to you. And yeah, it's not going to be the most clickable title, oh, my coworker gave me a piece of gum. Now I'm friends with them, whatever. Like it's not gonna be the most clickable thing, but it doesn't have to be, right? These are your personal experiences. It doesn't have to be, oh, I just got a raise and now my income is double because of what I did. Like it doesn't have to be that way. And, even if that is your milestone, even if that is your goal, the experience, the lessons you learned to get there, to double your income, the conversations you took with your boss or with your manager, whatever, right? Like these things are experiences that help you way, way more than just simply stating the blanket fact of like, hey, I doubled my income or whatever. And the last thing I want to say here about speedrunning life is, I guess, learn to say no to certain hustles. And again, you're not a failure if you skip a day at the gym. I don't care if your trainer says that, if your mom says that, if your boss says that, whatever. I don't care if some influence in your life, some random TikToker or Instagram guru or gym bro, I don't care. You're not a failure because of that. Okay. I think hustle culture has really defined so many young men these days to where it's like, oh, if I'm not grinding, if I'm not working on a side business, if I'm not, making passive income, I'm not, in the gym every day, like I'm behind. And I hate that, dude. I really do, because so many people are susceptible to it. And then they think that that's just reality. And they're not even saying bad things. Like, yeah, getting more money, getting more jacked. Like these are not bad things that guys should be prioritizing or should be thinking about. But when you make that your entire personality, when you make that all that life is, I kind of have a problem with that. I think life should be enjoyed. It should not just be sped run. It should not just be, oh, hopefully I can be a millionaire before my friend or whatever. Like that's not the point of life. The point of life is to enjoy it, right? It's to do something you're passionate about. It's to find your purpose in it. It's not just to do whatever the norm is and then just, oh, I'm good. I'm done. All right. Peace, guys. Hopefully that made sense. Sorry if I repeated myself a little bit in this video. Leave a like if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new. Hope you had a happy weekend. I'll see you guys in the next video. Monday and Thursdays are my work day, or not work days, are my video days. Subscribe if you're new. Leave a comment if you enjoyed this video. I'll see you guys later. Peace.